Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably can guess, we're gonna do about four reviews. The first one is, of course, MARIGOLD with their latest Winter Wonderful fight. This is day five, just with some matches, prelims. Originally, this event happened on the 8th, which was this past Sunday, but however, it was not uploaded, of course, on Wrestle Universe until today. And then we move on with Baka Gaijin and Friends with Volume 18, featuring various three matches, which were fun and exciting to enjoy. And then, of course, we have the latest P.P.P Tokyo event, which has been a while since I reviewed one of these. We have the Eternal Emotions, featuring many matches. But the main event features, of course, Gendaro Hashizu versus Soi Daimonji. This is an important match because, of course, Gentaro is like the underdog in this match, so this is going to be interesting to review. And then, of course, we do our final review, NXT. As you all know, we enter the fallout after deadline. The real question is, where do we go from here? We now know who are the number one contenders to take on our current NXT Women's Champion and our current NXT Champion. And of course, plenty other things are going to happen. And then we cap up our episode with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, and when matches are set. And we only have one development, of course, former NXT superstar and current Yoshi star Sareee, or formerly known as Sarray, apparently won an award from Tokyo Sports, which is going to be interesting to talk about. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we could either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got do Nagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions set aside, and I think it's time to prepare ourselves for some winter night because we're getting close to the winter. So, let's begin right now with our very first review, and this one is from MARIGOLD. Okay, MARIGOLD. We are continuing with day 5 of the Winter Wonderful fight. Now, I cannot remember where exactly they went, what venue or what location, but this took place this past Sunday on the 8th of November, but was not broadcast on Wrestle Universe until today, which is, of course, November 10th. Now, of course, many of you would say, yeah, that's how it happened. But however, some matches are prelims for upcoming events that would happen down the line, so we'll get to that at some point. Now, let's begin with our first match. Our first match, we have Rhea Seto. She teams up with Hummingbird to take on Komomo Minami and Victoria Yuzuki. Now, of course, there are certain factors in this match you would think. Of course, Rhea Seto is a bit of the least experience of the wrestler. Komomo, of course, is the same thing, but much lesser than Rhea Seto. But the real question you ask yourselves, how this was going to turn around? Well, it was Victoria Yuzuki, the future ace of Marigold, that was able to pick up the win when she applied a suplex onto Seto, and just like that, it was over. Our next match is a singles match. We have Kizuna Tanaka taking on our current Superfly champion, Natsumi Shozuki. Now, of course, nothing too significant, but if Kizuna Tanaka did defeat, of course, Kizuna, I mean, Shozuki, she could get an opportunity of the Superfly Championship. But however, we will see how that will turn out down that round. But however, it was Shozuki who walked away with the win when she applied a double knee diving drop onto the abdomen of Kizuna, and just like that, it was over. Our next match, another female version of David versus Goliath, Bozilla versus Nao Ishikawa. Now, of course, many people can say it's a very impossible way for Bozilla to lose because, of course, she is a bigger person. The only person she has in the match who was able to defeat her was Sareee, but of course, Nao Ishikawa does not have that. Unfortunately, she ended up on the wrong side of the pile driver by Bozilla, and just like that, it was done. Our next match, we have Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki versus Nao Yawada and Miku Ano. So basically nothing too significant, but we do know that Chiaki and Nozaki are in fact aiming for the tag belts. But that's another significance. But they have to go through, of course, our current white belt champion and, of course, Yawada. But unfortunately, it was Yawada who ended up being the one who ate the losses when she was pinned by none other than Chiaki, and just like that, adios. Now, our main event, we have a 6-woman tag match. We have Mala Grace, Mai Sakurai, and of course, Mirai taking on Mitsa Matsui, Kyoki Omori, and Utami Ayashida. Now, nothing too significant of this match. Now, we do know Kyoki Omori has challenged for the tag belts before, but nothing too significant about that. But unfortunately, this match ended with Mala Grace applying her corkscrew splash onto Mitsa Matsui, and just like that, we were done. So we will see what happens down the road. Now, I don't know when it will be the next Mighty Gold event, but I'll get to that at some point. But right now, let's move on with our next review, and I believe this one is Baka Gaijin and Friends. Okay. Baka Gaijin and Friends, another self-produced show by none other than Chris Brooks. This one is, of course, a 2-year anniversary with volume 18, so I can't believe it's been 2 years. I mean, it's a lot of fun show. I'm not gonna lie to everybody about that, but I do enjoy these type of wrestling events, even if it's not a traditional wrestling match. I mean, I do the same thing with Choco Pro. Not gonna lie about that, but nonetheless, um, our first match, we had a 3-way match. We have Too Much Energy Chiko Shikawa versus coming from Ganbare Pro, Munetatsu Nakamura. And then, of course, out of nowhere, it was added, not the Mad Doctor himself, but Takayuki Ueki in green Rambo type way. I don't know. But anyway, of course, like any type of match when it comes to 3 ways, anything could happen. I mean, it's very unpredictable how this match was going to be. But however, I think I was a bit of surprise. There was a moment where, of course, Nakamura got knocked down and he landed right on top of course, of Yuiki while she was the one who made the pin. However, the referee called it, saying that it was Yuiki, the only person who had his shoulders pinned flat on the ground. So that basically made it sound that it was both Chi and Nakamura who walked away as the win. So a very rare occurrence, but nonetheless, that's how it plays out. Now, our next match, we have Ram Kaicho taking on Harashima. Now, this match was a bit of a very interesting way how it turned out because those who know Ram Kaicho, she has this powder that she called ectoplasm. So basically, that's one of her main weapons to ensure that gives her the opportunity to win. I mean, it was effective, but it wasn't good enough to put down Arashima. But Arashima put a mask on her that kind of put a curse on her. I don't know what, but for some reason she just tapped out, like gave up. And just like that, by default, Harashima won the match. So it's very interesting how that match turned out. Now, our next match, we have Mr. Malo, or as in translation in English, out of Spanish, Mr. Bad. He teams up with Masahiro Takanashi, takes on, of course, the good side of Mr. Malo, Mr. Bueno, or shall we say, Mr. Good, and he teams up with Yuki Anoi, portrayed by none other than Mao. So basically, you probably can guess, okay, Mr. Malo and Mr. Bueno will just clash. I mean, that is mostly obvious that was going to happen. But however, it ended with, of course, with Mr. Malo being taken out by Mr. Bueno when he applied the gorgeous Estrella elbow. If those who don't know what Estrella means, it means star in Spanish. So that's how he picked up the win. Now, our main event, we have Antonio Honda taking on the guy who runs Baka Gaijin and Friends, Chris Brooks. Now, of course, Honda and Chris, they know each other too well. But the one thing that would be funny is, of course, you know Honda, how he acts. I mean, he stops the match, he does a thing, he gives a little storytelling and all that stuff. That's basically part of his charms. But Chris Brooks is the type of guy who's like, I'm not playing that game, fool. So he's like the kind of guy who, I'm all business, that sort of thing. But it did not do any effect for him one way or the other because Chris Brooks put him away when he applied a praying mantis bomb. And just like that, adios, he won. Just like that. So basically, it was over from there. So I think that's pretty much it with, of course, Baka Gaijin and Friends. If you guys are interested, go on their YouTube channel, Baka Gaijin and Friends, and you guys will see it there for free. So right now, let's move on with our next review, and I believe this one is from P.P.P. Tokyo. Okay, P.P.P. Tokyo with their latest event, Eternal Emotion. So this is their latest show. Now I haven't been covering some shows they've done, but apparently they have one of those you have to pay for a membership, that sort of thing on YouTube. I think that's like $6.99. But however, I was grateful that I got to see this one. Our opening match, we have Tyson Maiguchi. Many of you may or may not know this. I've seen him wrestle with Gambari Pro. He faces a guy named Larvin. I don't know much about the guy. But don't know how long this match lasted because this match ended after a time limit draw. So if I had to ballpark the time limit, I would say maybe somewhere around 15 minutes. Now, I don't know exactly what happened in the promo, but Larvin was the one who spoke. So don't know what he said, but we'll see. Our next match, we have a Yoshi wrestling match. We have the Muscle Sisters, consistent of Zones and Chanyota. They take on Blanca Maho and Makoto. So this was a very interesting matchup. I mean, we have seen Zones and Chanyota either face off each other, but they've always served each other as tag partners whenever Zones is in PP Tokyo. I mean, they both flex their muscles, and I did mention Zones is the powerhouse of the group, and that's exactly how she is. Uh, of course, seeing it was of course Chanyota with a looks like a botched insigiri that she tried to do on Blanca Maho, and well, she won. It looked kind of botched. If you guys look at it on YouTube when she does it, you can tell. It looked more like it wasn't like an exact hit, but just like that, it was over. Our next match, we have a bit of a intergender tag match. We have Morika Kobashi teaming with Harley Jackson to take on Riara in the mystery partner. Now, I didn't know who it was until it was revealed is one of the Brahmin brothers. I don't know which one. I mean, let's just say just Brahmin like that. I don't know. But of course, the Brahmins always get their usual shenanigans, doing their usual where they have to bring plunder, all sorts of toys to ensure they pick up the wins. But there was a moment where they accidentally miscued on Riara, but luckily Hartley Jackson put away Riara with a power drive, but gave Marika Kobashi the opportunity. Go take your pin, girl. And just like that, uno, dos, tres, just like that. Next up, we have a six-man tag team match. We have, of course, the boss, Kabuto Hitomi, teaming up with Takahashi, no, hold on, Yumehiro Inamara, and of course, Yukimitsu Takahashi, taking on Jun Masaoka, Juji Otani, and Gaia Hawks. So basically, nothing too significant. But however, this match ended with, of course, Otani, who is of course a regular with P.P.P Tokyo, was able to pick up the win when he applied a frog splash onto Takahashi. Just like that, it was over. So that played out pretty well. Our next match, we have another Yoshi wrestling match. We have Ichika Miyabi teaming up with Surumi Natsu. They take on Rina Yamashita and Ryo Mizunami. So nothing too significant, but I thought the match was pretty good. I thought it was really fun. However, it was of course a combination of two different ways. It was Miyabi who ended up on the wrong side first, getting the splash mountain by Rina Yamashita, and then a guillotine leg drop by Mizunami. But it was Mizunami who was the legal person in the match that allowed her to pick up the win. Now, the main event, this one was one of the most impressive ones I've seen. We have Kentaro Shizu taking on Soi Damaji. Now, this was one of those matches where, of course, we have those moments where, okay, one of the individual will put the finisher move, and that's when you think, oh, it's over. This was one of those moments, like, you thought it was over, but it's not. It kept going and going. But in the end, it was, of course, Kentaro Hazushi, who Shizu, who actually applied a guillotine headlock onto Daimonji, and just like that, it was over. Basically, he just stopped breathing. He was like the guy who was like the underdog, and everybody in the P.P. Tokyo brand were behind him. They're like trying to cheer him up. Come on, you can do it, man. You can do it. And I thought it was a very touching moment. So it was a fun match, and I enjoyed it. So you guys should check it out. It's on YouTube, so go on their channel, P.P.P Tokyo, and check it out. And I think so. Right now, let's just move on to our last and final review, and that is, of course, NXT. Okay, NXT. As we entered the fallout after Deadline, as you know, we already crowned two winners who will be challenging for the NXT Women's title and the NXT Championship. Now, beginning with the NXT Women's title, as you know, Julia is the winner of the Iron Survival Challenge. However, of course, we all know that the last time she confronted Roxanne Perez, it was not pleasant thanks to Cora Jade. But this time, of course, Julia is confident enough that she will walk out. But Roxanne Perez, as you know, is trying to prove that no one is going to defeat her. And then, of course, Cora Jade showed up. But later, it was revealed they attacked Stephanie Vakir, ensuring that Julia had no backup. But luckily, of course, Kelani Jordan showed up to back her up. But we did hear later on that, of course, that things were not, that things are, well, Stephanie will be okay, but Julia's not happy. The fact that they attacked Stephanie Vakir out of for no dang reason, but they will be part of the main event. Now, of course, as you know, Ethan Page has been swallowing his sorrows after not winning the Iron Survival Challenge in hopes to get another opportunity of the NXT title. So, Tony D'Angelo, trying to be the nice guy that he is, decided to offer him an opportunity of the NXT North American title. At first, he declined. So basically, Tony D'Angelo, okay, I'm opening a challenge. Who will be the lucky competitor? So Ethan Page decided I'll change my mind. So we'll see that later. Now, for our first match, we have, of course, Javon Evans versus Wesley. Now, this whole thing began when everybody were aiming for the NXT championship. Javon Evans, who is the young OG, decided to make the play. But Wesley, who felt like, look, I got rid of everything. I'm done with the North American title. I got rid of the. But he doesn't think that Wesley is ready enough. But Javon Evans, he's the kind of guy who's saying, look, you don't need to tell me what to do because I am me. And he's right. But that's where we got it here. Now, of course, you would think in a way Wesley would try to prove his point by trying to find ways to put him down, but no. It was Javon Evans who applied a match with that corkscrew high flying splash on him, and just like that, it's over with the match. But however, I have that distinct feeling that Wesley is not going to let this one go until he proves his point. But we will see what happens. Now, as always, when it comes to no quarter catch crew, they just mind their own business. However, what Lexus King is determined to get another shot of the Heritage Cup. So Charlie Dempsey, of course, was not too sure if he deserves it. But however, of course, the OTM decided to rub their faces knowing the fact that, okay, they did not win the tag belts or the Iron Survival Challenge. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, once again, Axiom and Nathan Frazier, of course, things are becoming interesting. So the real question is, where do we go from here now that they retain the belts? Well, we'll see. There was an interesting video vignette, not a vignette, but more like a video promo, where, of course, Josh Briggs, you all think, okay, he's done with tag teams. But when it comes to Yoshiki Inamura, he feels like this guy, he is a beast, and we're like a lot alike. So he respects him and love. Of course, Inamura is trying to say that we are going to dominate and destroy the entire tag team division. So that is something we could see. So we'll see what happens. Now, Soruka and Zaria actually did see what happened. However, of course, uh, Jakara Jackson and, of course, Lash Legend decided to get in their faces, but we know where that's going to lead us. So we will see those two in a tag match, possibly next week. Our next match, we have Hank and Tank teaming up to take on Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe. Now, these guys have faced off each other on multiple times. However, things have changed. As you all know, both these teams were involved in that battle royale last week that determined who will be facing, of course, Nathan Frazier and Axiom. But, of course, DuPont and Ewig were not happy with the results of that. However, you ask yourselves, does lightning strikes twice? Well, it kind of did because it was Tank who pinned, I believe it was Igwe, but later the respect between these two teams is officially over, so we could see a rivalry between both these teams down the road. Now, as I mentioned before, we have a winner for the NXT title, number one contendership, and that is Obafemi. Now, of course, Obafemi saying that once he defeats Trick Williams, he will finally reclaim his rightful place at the throne. However, Trick Williams decided to say some things until he was interrupted by Eddie Thorpe. Now, however, no one knows who attacked Eddie Thorpe, but, however, he did state that someone took him out very hard. And primary suspect for Eddie Thorpe, he believes it was Obafemi. Now, Obafemi is not the kind of guy who would just take out, but he did compliment him that he is strong. But, of course, Eddie Thorpe is not happy with the results, how things ended. But towards the end of the entire broadcast, we did see him that he signed a contract for a shot of the NXT title happening next week against Trick Williams. So we'll see what happens from there on. Now, before their upcoming match, Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley, they know that their numbers are up, knowing that Fatal Influence have more numbers to be involved. However, we did see of course, Tatum Paxley said that they have a friend. And of course, Izzy Dame interrupted, and then of course, Spears, Jensen, and Nico showed up. But of course, Izzy saying that she doesn't need Spears' approval. But we'll see where that goes from there. Now, speaking of, we did see Fatal Influence, Jasmine Nix, and Jay-Z Jane taking on Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. Now, when it comes to Fatal Influence, they attempt to prove their point that they're the ones who will be the true influence of the NXT. But of course, Effin Henley gets involved, costing the match between both Paxley and, of course, Dolan. However, during the post match, another person from the past showed up, and that is Shotzi. Tatum Paxley did say that she had a friend, and looks like she wasn't wrong. So, thought it was interesting to see. Now, our next match is the NXT North American title, Ethan Page versus Tony D'Angelo. Now, many people will think that, okay, would this lift up Eddie Ethan's Page spirit? Possibly, but he probably wanted to aim for the top belt. But unfortunately, he ended up losing to Tony D'Angelo after doing like a somewhat version of the spine buster, and just like that, it was over. Lexus King was in fact talking to some guy, I don't know who it was, named Ryan. Don't know exactly what they were talking about, but however, I think he said it was a hockey player. Um, Charlie Dempsey decided to give him the opportunity for the NXT Heritage Cup, so we'll see where that goes. Our next match, we have Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade taking on Julia and Kelani Jordan. Of course, this match has a lot of animosity. I mean, Roxanne Perez tries to prove her point that she runs the division. However, Roxanne and Julia went out their way outside the ring, giving Cora Jade and Kelani Jordan to pick up the win. But however, it was Cora Jade who defeated her by using an underhook DDT onto Jordan to win. However, she wanted to dismantle her. But Stephanie Vakir attacked her from behind. So we will see what happens between Stephanie Vakir and Jordan and Cora Jade. I wouldn't be surprised if they will be in a match at New Year's Evil. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for this review NXT. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events from the promotions. As always, majority comes from, of course, with GCW. As you know, on the 28th of December, they will be in Seattle for Take Care of Me. It was announced that Matt Cardona will be in action to take on Super Crazy. And then we got the New Year's Eve event at the Mecca in Ridgeway Park. We have Till Infinity on the 31st of December, which is the last show of 2024. We have Dr. Redacted, One Called Manders, uh, Tara Zapp, and John Wayne Murdoch. And then, of course, a few days later, on the 10th of January in 2025, in Rochester, New York, better known as Brody Lee Country, for the Sorry Pal, we have Charles Mason, Zeta Steele, Richard Holiday, and of course, Don McGreeny and Kevin Koo, better known as Violence is Forever. And then finally, the following day in Columbus, Ohio, on January 11th of 2025, Thank Me Later, we have Mance Warner, Myron Reed, Zachary Wentz, and Zeta Steele. And then, of course, there is a match that was announced for later on this month, on December, by House of Glory for Live for the Moment. The Hardy Boys will take on Main Event, Midas Black, and Jay Lyons. Now, for our only development, many of you know every year before the end of the year, Tokyo Sports does these awards. And, of course, this year for the Women's MVP Award for 2024, Sareee, formerly known as Sarray, has won the award. She is the first non-stardom wrestler since 2018 to win this award. However, you probably ask yourself, who was the one who won it back then? That was, of course, Tsukasa Fujimoto from Ice Ribbon. So, yes. Of course, many of you know that she had 3 sold-out shows from her self-produced show, Surrealism, and then her winning the MARIGOLD World Title, and not to mention the Beyond the Sea Championship. So she is the top champion in 2 different promotions. So practically that's the reason. So congratulations, Sareee. So hope you have a great year. Hopefully 2025 will be a lot more interesting. So we'll see what happens. But for now, let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Dynamite. I'm going to presume we are continuing with more of the Continental Classic and other things are taking place. As you know, we are getting closer to some big events like World's End, and of course, for the start of 2025 at Wrestle Dynasty. So that is a lot of things we're going to be focusing on. Now, I haven't decided yet exactly for the next episode what else I'm going to do other than AEW Dynamite, but we'll just have to see. I haven't seen the much recent shows from last month with Glee. I think I will do that, and I was thinking considering possibly with the finals of the Real Tag League by All Japan and the two recent shows for the by Noah the Monday Magic. So we'll see how that rolls. So there's a lot of things are taking place, but we'll see how things will progress from there. But for now, we'll leave things as it is. And until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye and have a nice day. Bang.